The Stockdale paradox is something Jim Collins learned from Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. He survived the prisons of Vietnam as a prisoner of war, and he wrote the book Courage Under Fire, which I actually summarized in the mental toughness course as well. So Admiral Jim Stockdale, he noticed that there were two kinds of prisoners of war who did not survive the prisons for long. The first kind were the ones who wore rosy glasses. They were overly optimistic. They were hoping that somehow they will be released by Christmas or by Easter or by New Year. On the other hand, there were another kind of POWs who did not survive the prisons. And these were the people who were too pessimistic. They had lost all hope. They did not believe they would be released, and they could not handle the brutalities of the prison. So you see, it didn't matter if you, on the two extremes, if you were too optimistic, if you were too rosy, if you just believed that somehow it will all work out, well, it was really difficult to survive. But if you also had no hope and you were completely pessimistic and you could not handle the tough situations, well, then you did not survive either. Well, the ones who survived were the ones who had faith that they would survive, that they would be released, and they confronted the brutal reality of the prison as it existed today. So the ones who survived, there's a paradox here. The paradox is, as Jim Collins calls it, the Stockdale paradox, which is having the faith that you will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties, and confronting the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they are. So in some ways, it's a combination of being very optimistic that you will survive, you will prevail, but also being very realistic about what the challenges are of today. That is the Stockdale paradox. Rather than just putting on really rose-colored glasses, you need to be optimistic, but you also need to be aware of the most brutal facts of your current reality. As in, what is the challenge today? Let's face it and let's handle it. Let's not just keep pushing it out in the distance. Let's not just keep wearing rosy glasses. You see, the entrepreneurs, the great entrepreneurs, are the one who believe that they will make their business a success, no matter how difficult the conditions might be. And they understand that it will be hard. It will be, they will go through this. The failing entrepreneurs, on the other hand, they think that either they're completely optimistic or they're completely pessimistic. They either think their idea was a giant success or it was a giant failure. They don't want to persevere. They don't want to go through a lot of hardships. And I saw firsthand at 2000 Books how this all came together for me, because early on, I did not expect the business to be as hard as it turned out to be. I expected it to be easier. But now I look back and I wish I had known that it was going to be 10 times harder than what I thought it would be. So applying the principles of Stockdale paradox in some ways can be a journey of a lifetime, because over time I realized that building the business is going to be much, 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 much harder. And as a result, I just continued to persevere and make the business better and better and better. So in some ways, we have to understand that things are going to be hard, and we must persevere through them. That's the reality of business as it exists today, and as it has always existed for years and decades and centuries.